Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakach Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who push in the 100% truth and taught us in this ministry. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect. Alright, back with another lesson here. Lord's willing, this video will be edifying unto the elect. Alright, this video is entitled, We Are Prisoners of Yahawashi, just like Paul, sent to do his work. Okay, and that's who we are. The Lord's prisoners, his servants, his angels on the earth, sent to do, his work, his will, and what he requires. Okay, just like how Paul, the apostle Paul called himself a prisoner of Yahawashi. Okay, that's just like us, okay, to do the Lord's work, to do what he requires to, to be his servants. So I'll just type up the word prisoner here on the Blue Letter Bible here. This is just the precepts will come up, with Paul calling himself a prisoner of Yahawashi. I'll just read some. This is Ephesians 3 and verse 1. It says, For this cause I, Paul, the prisoner of Yahawashi HaMashiach, for you Gentiles, as you see here, Paul called himself a prisoner, of Yahawashi for you Gentiles, which was the those Gentiles. There was the Israelite foreigners. Okay, Paul was sent with the doctrine of Yahawashi, all right, to reconcile them, bring them back, to the truth, to the 100% truth, the doctrine, to Yahawashi. Okay, and this is what we doing today. Okay, the mission what the Lord have us, carrying out. Okay, on these highways and byways, preaching unto Israel, mainly the elect. Okay, because they are the ones who gonna get it. Okay, they are the ones who gonna understand it. Okay, then okay, Romans 11 and 7. But this is our purpose. Okay, it's Ephesians 4 and 1. It says, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called. Okay, this is what we called to do. For the elect. Okay, to make them walk worthy in the sight of Yahawashi. Right, we are the servants going out, bidding the elect to the marriage. Okay, and this is our purpose. Okay, I'll just look up the word prisoner quick here. Prisoner meaning. Let's see here. Well, one give me what I want. Okay, it says a person legally committed to prison as punishment for a crime. That's not really what I want. But the one who bound to the Lord, we bound to the Lord. Prisoners, we required to do his work, to do his purpose. Okay. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 8. Alright, and I'll start at verse 3. It says, There be many created, but few shall be saved. Okay, that will be the elect, the few, the remnant, who are gonna be saved. Alright, so answered I and said, is Ezra, then he talking to the angel. It says, Swallow then down, O my soul, understanding, and devour wisdom, for thou hast agreed to give ear, and art willing to prophesy, for thou hast no longer space than only to live. Okay, and this is us. We's angels of the Lord on the earth, carrying out the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahawashi, his ambassadors. Because the word angel just means messenger. Okay, that's all it is. Messengers, the prophets here, bringing a warning from the Lord. Okay, bringing the 100% truth. Okay, and this is really our purpose. Okay, to do. Okay, we bound to do this. We meant to do this. All right. Okay, this is our dedicated service. So yeah, this is Romans 12 and verse 1. Okay, dedicated service. Okay, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of power, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto power, which is your reasonable service. Okay, pushing this word, um, pushing this word out there in the highways and byways, in season, out of season. That's presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice, Okay. Verse 2, it says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is a good and acceptable and perfect will of power. Okay, having our mind in this truth, transformed from this world. Okay, that's our purpose, sent to do the will of power. Okay, that's it. This is our reasonable service. Okay, we Lord sent us to do. Yahawashi sent us to do. Okay, this is 2 Corinthians 5 and verse 11. Okay, it says, knowing therefore the terror of the Lord, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto power. I trust also are made manifest in your consciences. Okay, knowing the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. Okay, and this is being a prisoner of the Lord, doing His will. Okay, persuading men with the knowledge of this truth, the 100% truth, the wholesome of the truth. All right. Okay. Because we working for mercy too. We working out our own salvation in fear and trembling. When we do our reasonable service. Okay, doing this work. All right. Okay, because the Lord could cast you away. Okay, if you're in doing this work, you're being lukewarm. Okay, the Lord could just cast you away. Remember, you are His prisoner. Okay, Okay. All right. So this is what we sent to do. Okay, rightly dividing the word of truth. Just get that. Believe that's, if I'm not mistaken, 1 Timothy. Slack here. Let me just type it up here. Rightly dividing. Let's see. Right. 2 Timothy 2 and verse 15. It says, study to show thyself approved unto power, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth, breaking it down. Okay, correct doctrine, so we'll be given here, sent by the Lord. Okay, through His apostles down. All right, of GMS. Okay, so this is what we're doing, rightly dividing the word of truth, breaking down false doctrines, imaginations, okay, and, ultimately waking up the elect, again, sealing them with the knowledge of this truth. Okay, and this is being a prisoner of the Lord, being His servant. All right, okay, and also applying the truth to yourself too, most important. Okay, let's see, this is 2 Peter This is 2 Peter 3 and verse 11. Okay, bring out this precept a couple of times. Okay, this is 2 Peter 3 and 11. Start verse 11. It says, "Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness?" Okay, having this truth, in your mind always. Okay, living in the truth, and applying it. Okay, verse 12, it says, "Looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Lord, Yahweh." Right, Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi. This is what we're doing. Okay, wherein the heavens begin to, Slakia, wherein the heavens being Slakia on fire, shall be dissolved, and the element shall melt with fervent heat. Okay, nevertheless, that's what we're looking for. The end of Esau Edom. Okay, that's why we're doing this work. Alright, verse 13, it says, "Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness." Okay, "Wherefore, beloved, seeing that ye look for such things, be diligent that ye may be found of him in peace, without spot and blameless." Okay, so we have to make full proof of our ministry. Okay, and that's being a prisoner of Yahawashi Yahawashi. Okay, doing his will. Okay, being a servant, or a prophet. Okay, so when the Lord comes, we have grace. Okay, we did his work, and we have grace. Lord's willing, and we be a part of that one too. Okay, when Yahawashi returns. Okay, so that's a part of being, a prisoner of the Lord, fearing the Lord. Okay, that what he could do to you and doing this work. Okay, let me just check out this precept here. This is Sirach chapter 37. Bear with me here. 37 and verse 19. Okay, let me see. Just take a read. It says, "There is one that is wise and teacheth many, and yet is unprofitable to himself. There is one that showeth wisdom in words, and is hated. He shall be destitute of all food." Okay, you have to apply this knowledge, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to yourself. Okay, being not, servant to the Lord. Okay, verse 21, and so you won't be a castaway. Okay, for grace is given, not for grace is not given him from the Lord, because he's deprived of all wisdom. Okay, now applying it to yourself. So that's a part of being a prisoner of the Lord. That's a purpose. Okay, so Lord's willing, this video was edifying unto the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakah Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect. Wa Abad Babal and Shalom.